Told y'all I would be back. What's going on? It's Keyshawn Johnson. We're about to get into my show. But first, I have to introduce you to a special guest joining me to break down the top sports stories this week. She's covered everything. Every single sport you could think of and can imagine. She was at the Turner Network, ESPN for a minute there, the Washington Post. That means she's a great writer. Now she's part of the Undisputed family. Welcome my good friend, Rachel Nichols.
Thank you, sir. I like it in here. This is fancy.
Yeah, well,
What going on?
They're trying to help me out a little bit with my career.
Yeah, because you really need a lot of help. It's been a total failure so far.
No,
so glad you're finally succeeding in something.
And I got you as one of my first guests.
I love it.
On the pod.
I love it. I feel honored.
Take it away, big guy.
All right, starting with some basketball. A hot topic has been the league's in-season tournament with a $500K bag on the line. Players around the NBA are voicing their mixed feelings. Take a listen to Jalen Brown and Steph Curry's perspectives.
It's tough because, that's just not how the game is supposed to be played, One, you got to respect your opponents, and two, it's just weird setup. We understand the rules, but if I was another team, I'd be upset as well if we were doing, the hack of Drummond in the middle of the fourth quarter. But, our coaching staff made their decisions.
Hey, but what I'm saying was, in a game like this where the points matter, those dumb turnovers I just threw, they give them, especially this team, even if we get a shot clock violation and we move it, that's how we're going to win this game by 20. All right, so this next 2 minutes is huge.
Rachel, let's start with you. You heard Jalen arguing to preserve the integrity of the game, while Steph Curry took more of a pragmatic approach. Which side resonates with you more?
Well, look, what they're talking about is in this in-season tournament, point differential is the tiebreaker. And it came into play in a lot of the games last night, right? Or a couple nights ago. You heard Jalen and the Celtics had to win by 22 points, which means that they were running up the score. They were playing hack of Drummond toward the end of the game. In fact, Joe Mazzulla had to go talk to Billy Donovan on the sideline in the middle of the game to basically explain, we're not trying to show you up here. We just have to win by 22 or 23 points. So Jalen's saying, I don't like that, right? It doesn't feel good. You've had other players come out and say, Devin Booker came out last night and said, I'd like to play every game like that. Why don't we play to the end? How come I got to sit during fourth quarters? Why can't I just play my hardest? So it's a little bit like, in baseball where we have all the unwritten rules sort of scenario. I think that they are going to have a little bit more problem with this as they continue the mid-season tournament next year, because now everybody knows.
Yeah.
No one was thinking in the first few games, we got to win by a certain amount of points. That just wasn't what was on everyone's mind. Now that it became such a big factor toward the end of this midseason tournament opening round, you're going to have people doing this all throughout these games. And I don't know how guys are going to feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I like it. It's the start. You mentioned, they'll learn from it and they'll go back and make some corrections. It'll be tough for them. I think when in year one, you make changes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's just
But do you
part
like
of
that?
it.
Do you like that teams are
Rachel.
put in the position to have to run up the score on other teams?
Yeah, who cares? Stop me. You're paid to stop me. I'm paid to score.
Yeah.
Bottom line, it's almost like in football. Well, it's a minute 40 to left on the clock, and we're at the 1 yard line. What am I supposed to just kneel down 4 times?
I agree.
No, I'm going to score points. You're paid to stop me. I'm paid to score. That's just the bottom line. You're going to also have, Rachel, as you know, mixed reviews from players that want to do it, and then there's going to be other players that don't want to do it.
Yep.
But this is counting toward the regular season. So play like you would play in a normal game.
Well, but they're saying they don't play that way in a normal game. Normally, if they're up by 10, they're good. They don't need to be up by 15. They don't need to keep,
but
hammering it.
Both sides know that you got to score more points.
Yes.
That's why he went to the coach to just reassure Billy Donovan, hey, I got you,
But Billy Donovan was still unhappy after the game. He was like, this still is bad sportsmanship. And look, I'm with you, by the way. It drives me crazy when coaches sit their own players because they're like, oh, the game's out of hand in a good way.
Yes.
And like
I used
Steve
to hate
Kerr,
that.
I've had a conversation with Steve Kerr. I was like, please, just let Steph Curry get to 80 because you know that he could. You know that Steph Curry could challenge Kobe for that 81, and Steve never leaves him in that long because, I don't know, he's afraid he's going to get hurt, and, that's important. I mean, obviously, I get it. I'm joking,
No,
they
it's
lose
true.
Steph Curry for the season. It's not worth the 80 points, but I will say as a fan, I want to see them score until they can't score anymore.
And you look at it that way, right, on the point side. I remember in college, I broke a record in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
and I needed to break Johnny Martin's single game record or something, and I needed just like one catch to do it.
Right.
And Coach Robinson goes, well, we're beating them by 50-something, knowing you're going to take it to the house. I was like, no, just throw me a little hitch. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I would have probably tried to take it to the house. So
Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you were trained to do.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't want to continue to just pile on with the team. But me, on the other hand, I'm like, that they're paid to stop me, so they should stop me.
Look, I obviously going out of your way to embarrass someone when there's no reason, I get it. But there are reasons.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a reason. I feel like a player going for a big point total, see how much he can get. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I know some guys don't like that. I'm okay with that. That is for a reason. I went to Northwestern University, and when I was there, the football team was beaten by so many points that I think they really just stopped keeping track on the scoreboard. So I'm just saying, we didn't all go to USC, Keyshawn. Some of us are used to the score being run up on us.
No, I get it.
And, we can live with it. I'm still here. It's
But
fine.
it's an adjustment, and because, like you say, the unwritten rule, clock is running down, bounce the ball, don't take any more shots.
Yes.
When it's the in-season tournament, you now have to change and train your mind to know we have to score a certain amount of points to get a certain seeding if it's important, because it leads not only to winning something, but economically. And you say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter to some of these guys. Doesn't matter, man. Billionaires are still doing work to make money.
Everyone, no one's
Right?
no one's doing well enough that they're not like, $500,000, I'll take it.
Exactly.
I'll take the extra
So
$500,000.
some of that is an incentive as well.
No, 100%. And look, again, I like all of this stuff. And by the way, going for that point differential will also cost you sometimes. You heard Steph Curry in that clip, hey, we need to go for more than 20. Well, if the Warriors had played safer style of basketball toward the end of that game, they probably would have won. Instead, they had an epic collapse at the end
Here's
of
how they could fix it, though, Rachel, now that you keep mentioning the point differential. Why don't they apply that toward the regular season as well?
You mean
So from a seeding standpoint, victories
as a tiebreaker?
As a tiebreaker, plus points and things
I
of that
think
nature.
it's in there somewhere. It's just in there after a bunch of other stuff. I think point differential is one of the things.
Maybe they should
but it's
push
maybe
it.
Push
Maybe
it
they
up.
should push it up.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's stick with the tournament. Let's talk about how incentives factor into players' motivation. Here's what Derek White had to say.
But I got to ask you about the money, the prize money. Is it an incentive to play harder in the in-season tournament?
I mean, it's obviously going to be nice. Anytime you get extra money, it's going to be nice, and it's something to shoot for, especially some guys that are early in their career or whatnot. So, it's definitely something that I think maybe some guys are thinking about more than others.
Keyshawn, the NBA really needs to offer already highly compensated players more money just to show up to work. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, it depends on what players. You got guys at the end of the bench, Rachel, that are making league minimum.
Yep.
So another $500,000, it is going to go a long, long ways. And as we talked about before, no one is so rich where they don't need money. Everybody, you think about some of the richest people, they're still working. They're still investing money.
Yep.
They're still doing things. If that was the case, they just sit on their big yachts and chill. It was always in the Pro Bowl in NFL. You play when it was a real Pro Bowl, when you used to cover it, Rachel, it was a real Pro Bowl. You would fly over after the Super Bowl to Hawaii. Yep. You'd hang out, party, do everything. The first 3 quarters of the game, By the fourth quarter, though, it turned into a real football game because there was incentives on the line that you could pay for all the travel and expenses of your family and everything coming over there. So it was something to play for.
Yeah.
I mean, and even guys at the end of the season, depending on where you're at in a standing standpoint, would go around a locker room and ask each other, hey, what do you need for your incentives to reach that? And you would tell them, hey, I need another 4 catches, to help you get that. It's very, very important.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, look, first of all, people are building it into contracts. So sometimes you can't get your money if you don't hit your incentives. In this case, it doesn't bother me at all. Here's the thing. You cannot play your best every game. That is a misconception. You know why? Because then it's not your best anymore. Yeah. Then it's just how you are. right?
Yep.
Best means something. It's a word that has meaning. It means better than usual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want guys to play better than usual in certain circumstances, in certain games, you have to create a reason for them to do so.
Yep.
And look, it's nice to have this new little tournament cup, but that's not enough of a reason, right? A little money, a little cash.
$500,000 goes a long ways. You could do many different vacations and different things.
You get a little tugboat for your yacht.
Yeah, you get
is
a
what you can.
tugboat for your yacht.
Here's the thing, Keyshawn, that they did that I actually think is the smartest in this entire conversation. They included the coaching staffs in the financial incentives. You know why that's so important?
Will they get $500,000 too?
They will get, I don't know if it's a full $500,000, but they will get a substantial chunk of money. It may be $500,000. I have to go back and check on that. But I will say that they are getting enough money that it resonated with me that I thought, these are the guys making the decisions about who plays in the nights of the in-tournament games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's on the court? How long are they on the court? If a coach is only thinking about his long-term job and his long-term season, and he's like, I don't need to play hard in this in-season tournament. What's that getting me? I need to focus on the season. I'm going to get fired or not fired based on how we do during the season. Now, all of a sudden, the coaching staffs, who, by the way, are not the billionaires, if they get an extra $500,000 or even a little bit less, they're going to be coaching a little differently in those games, too. I thought that was a brilliant, brilliant, sneaky move that no one's been paying attention to.
You know, I lost money my one of my years in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We played the Giants last game of the season. We're not going to the playoffs, but I had $500,000 in incentives.
Yeah.
I needed 44 yards to reach this.
You can get 44 yards in your sleep.
True.
You get 44 yards on one catch.
I broke my ankle in the first quarter on a 22-yard catch.
Dude.
So I snap it, right?
Oh.
And I hear it break like a pretzel.
Oh.
And so I lay on the ground, and the first thing came to my mind
You're
is
like
shit.
Dollars
I just lost this fucking money. And I'm like, $500,000. And I'm like, I think I broke my ankle when the trainers came out there. So I think I broke my ankle. And I said, but I think I can walk. I think you know, because I'm saying to myself.
You're like, I can still do it.
Yeah,
I can
I'm
still
like,
do it. 22 yards. How hard is 22 more
and
yards?
I'm like thinking, damn, I wonder if Jerry gonna give me this money. So Jerry comes into the locker room at halftime, and he's like, hey, you're all right. I'm like, yeah, but I got $500,000 coming. If I get the 44 yards or 22 yards, 3 quarters to go. Well, you gonna give it to me? He goes, I can't do it. Incentives is against the salary cap.
I actually think that's correct. He can't.
I was just like, seriously?
Yeah.
I had already spent it though. Going into the game.
What were you buying?
I don't know, a car. So I had already spent it though in my mind. It was gone.
Yeah.
Money gone.
Yep. Well,
sticking with basketball, Draymond Green continues to be Draymond. After a 5-game suspension for choking Rudy Gobert out, Draymond is back on his BS, getting teed up for his first game back. Kenny Smith had this to say: there's no more apologies. He's too good a player and too seasoned of a player to have to keep apologizing. But John Sally came on Undisputed and took a different perspective. Take a listen.
I would take him every day and twice on Sundays. Let me tell you, when you have Draymond, you got energy. Now, people may sit there and say, well, he caused them a problem. He didn't cause them a problem. He is the energy. And when you got that kind of energy, you won on the time. I played with Bill Lambert, and he would yell at the refs and point to the refs, and everyone called him a crybaby. But Bill would say, you know what, I'm going to take all the bullets. You asked, would I want Draymond on my squad? I would want Draymond needs to be on every squad. And I tell you this, those guys have to realize that they have an enforcer, and if that enforcer wasn't there, we would not be talking about the Golden State Warriors. He is the energy of that team.
Rachel, is Draymond Green about to ruin a third Golden State Warriors season?
He did not ruin the other Golden State Warriors seasons. I totally agree with John Sally here. I am 100% in his camp. Every single guy on that Warriors roster wants Draymond Green on the roster. Every other player around the league, if they are honest with them and their GM came and said, hey, we just traded for Draymond, they would be like, yes, good. Players want to play with him. Even though they hate playing against him, he is the kind of guy you want on your team. And look, he should not have choked out Rudy Gobert. We all agree on that. It was not good, and he held on to it for a really long time. But I will say this. A couple nights later, I went to an NHL hockey game. And in that hockey game, there were 2 separate large fights, including guys choking around each other's neck area, and several other times during the game where guys would take a stick and whack as hard as they could into a player, an opponent, and what they were told was, you just go sit down for 2 minutes. That's fine. You just go sit over there just take a little reflection time for 2 minutes, for 120 seconds, and then you'll be good to go. So look, I get it. Basketball's different from hockey. Football's different. You know, different amounts of physicality in the game and pads and all of that. But Rudy Gobert was laughing, both during the chokehold and afterward. So let us not pretend that this was a near-death experience for everyone and take it quite so seriously, in my respect. Again, he wasn't right to do it. I will say that. But there are different levels of not right. And this was not a crime, in my opinion.
Keyshawn, as the vet on the teams, is it on Klay and Steph to do a little policing with Draymond on this?
No, not at all. I understand what everybody was going through and looking at and seeing and saying about the choke. When Rudy Gobert went at Klay Thompson, he went to the wrong uniform and the wrong person.
Yep.
Go get your own teammate and separate him, just like CP3 did. He went and got Klay Thompson. So when Draymond sees an act on his teammate, he now reacts to that act by Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
Did he hold on too long? Whatever.
That was a long time coming, that joke.
6 seconds, whatever, 5, 7 seconds with everybody.
8 seconds.
You know how it is, 8 seconds. But when you have everybody surrounding anything, it's going to look chaotic, right?
Yes.
Fights look chaotic. Oh, get off me, you grabbing me, get away from me, what are you doing? And then he's pulling him, but he's also pulling the guy, and he's pulling him. So it makes it look like Draymond is dragging him when the other guy's pulling him away from him. So it turns into a chaotic situation. In terms of Draymond, I want nothing less than Draymond.
100%.
Don't give me Mond. I need Draymond. Don't just give me Mond. Or Dre. I don't need just Dre. Dre can't help me.
I mean, Dre's pretty fun,
I
too.
need Draymond. Okay? Because he's the enforcer on the team. Like John said, you have to have one of those guys on every single team. You have to have a Dennis Rodman, a Rick Mahorn, a John Sally.
Standard. We don't have it as much anymore.
Or what was my man at the Knicks? Charles Oakley.
Of course.
Like, you got to have one of those guys, Kurt Rambis back in the day with the Lakers, that is going to say, no, man, you're not going to pick on my guys. You're not going to do this. You're not going to look at my player and assume, he's soft.
Don't we want that as fans too, by the way? I would love a little more physicality back in the NBA. I love the scoring boom. I get why they got rid of hand checking and all the defensive stuff. But I would argue we've gone a little too far. It's a sport, right? These guys are big, strong, tough guys. You know, get a little physical. I think that's fine.
And Draymond has as you know, Rachel covered the NBA, he has a reputation. And the moment that he says boo, they're going to say T. I mean, he can't, but you can't take that away from him. He got teed up the other night just simply saying he was carrying. He was carrying the ball. He was carrying the ball.
That was such a weird technical.
Because he wasn't stopping on the other thing, on the foul, when he pushed him in the back, but he didn't push him in the back. He laid his hands on his spine, and then they called him for a foul because the one guy, I don't remember the name, but he kind of was going after the rebound and did a good job of faking it. And they gave him a foul. Draymond's like, are you serious? So Draymond then takes it in his own hands as to go down low and then flop when the guy actually hit him in the chin with the elbow, but he did it about 10 seconds too late. So it looked real odd. It looked like, well, they didn't call it, but now 10 seconds later, you're flopping. So he goes back down the court, and the guy's carrying, and they're simply saying, hey, he's carrying the basketball. Says, you shut up. T. What did I do? I'm just giving the motions. But he can't do that.
But because why can't, that
I'm saying he can't.
Why can't these guys talk to the officials? Look.
They probably do, but some guys they don't want to hear from.
I get it, but come on, man. Again, we're all grown-ups. This is a professional sport. There's a lot on the line.
I understand.
It is very hard to get there. I think we can just all assume that there is a basic level of respect between all parties involved and not be so sensitive about everything.
Certain referees in sports don't like certain players for whatever.
Look, get into Scott Foster and Chris Paul, right?
That's what I'm saying.
That's the whole thing.
You just don't like, I don't like you because 15 years ago you said, go to hell.
I get it, but that whistle does not make you all powerful. And I really think that
Have you ever been stopped by a security guard before?
Oh, yeah.
They're very powerful because there's a security guard.
Because they have
TSA is very powerful. So
Keyshawn,
You have to
one
be
of
very
your
respectful.
football- I will tell you, it was one of your. This has happened to me several times, but one time in particular, I remember it was one of your football games where I was told, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart, the anthem singer can't go back into that area. That's where the locker rooms are." So that happens. Stuff like that happens to me all the time. But I will say that even in those moments, it's inappropriate.
Yes.
And I think that it's inappropriate when the. By the way, I'm on the
But they
side
got
of the
the badge
officials.
and they
largely
feel empowered.
in the NBA. I think the NBA actually has very good officiating.
Yeah.
I would compare it to the NFL. I would say the NBA is in better shape. I like the 2-minute report, which I know some people don't like. I think that's like good self-policing. But in this case of this sort of players can't make a face. Giannis got a technical earlier this season for what? For like kind of doing a half of a mean mug after a huge dunk. I don't get this. This doesn't make sense. It's not what fans want. And in the end, this is an
Yeah,
entertainment
the mean
product.
mug is a bit much.
And like, or the too short or any of that stuff. Like guys get technicals for that. For Draymond to get a technical for like, oh, he's carrying.
Well,
I mean,
Steve
that's an
Kerr
insane-
on the other end was motioning. He's
same
carrying,
thing.
doing the same thing, and they didn't tee him up.
Because he's Steve Kerr.
Yeah, well, he got a better reputation
Yes,
than
he
Dre.
does.
Draymond. I don't want Dre
You don't want Dre.
or
You want
Mon. I need
Draymond.
them both.
Need them both. Moving on to the NFL. Micah Parsons took to Twitter to defend his QB's MVP campaign, calling out our very own Emmanuel Acho for omitting Dak from his top 5 MVP ballot. Parsons reacted to the stat comparison graphic of Dak's numbers, outshining Patty Mahomes, saying, quote, "But y'all on here trying to convince Dak not top 3 MVP? At Emmanuel Acho, make it make sense." Here was Acho's response.
I got to respond to you, but I'm on set because I have to work today. Not sure what you're doing. Yes, Dak Prescott is statistically as impressive, if not more impressive than Patrick Mahomes. But it's not the most statistically impressive award. It's the most valuable player award. I'm going to say something you might not be able to respond to, but I got to be honest. What game would Cooper Rush have lost that Dak Prescott has won? I think one game. The only game I believe that Dak Prescott won this year that Cooper Rush would have lost is the Chargers. That's it. So when I'm thinking about value, how can we say that Dak is more valuable than Patrick Mahomes? Statistically impressive, sure. But y'all still would have lost to the Niners and the Eagles had Cooper Rush played, and y'all still would have beat the Commanders and beat the Panthers and beat DeVito and beat the Giants again. Hit Cooper played. Let's just be honest here. So is Dak more statistically impressive? Yes. But y'all got the Dolphins, y'all got the Bills, y'all got the Eagles left on the schedule, and the Seahawks. Dak can win MVP if he wins.
Keyshawn, let's start with you. Are you siding with Micah or Acho on this?
I'm with Micah 100%. I like Acho. He's cool. He's a nice guy and all. But at the end of the day, what the hell is he talking about? The MVP race is at the end of the season. You can't put him in the top 5
Top
right
3.
now?
Top 3 was the question.
Okay, you can't put him in the top 3 right now?
I'm just saying.
I mean, no, I'm just saying. You got Patrick Mahomes,
Right.
Lamar Jackson,
Yes.
and Jalen Hurts. However you want to flip them around, script it, whatever.
Right.
He can get in that conversation.
Yeah.
His record is 8-3. They've lost to some tough teams.
Stats are very strong.
Stats are equal to Patrick Mahomes'
Yes.
statisticals.
But let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes is not on track to win MVP this year. If we're going to have an honest conversation about
I don't
this.
know that because it's not done yet.
Well, I said on track.
On track.
If you had to decide the award today, you would not give it
No,
to
I'm
him.
not going to give it to him. I'm going to probably give it to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But to dismiss Dak Prescott in this conversation and insert the backup
Yes.
in Cooper Rush because Cooper Rush had a few good games last year, stop it. Because the offense is not run the same. Whatever you want to call it is dummied down for Cooper Rush.
Yes.
It is not the entire playbook.
Yep.
Okay? That's the problem when you start comparing. Because if that was the case, and you've covered this thing a long time,
Yeah.
whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, pickleball, whatever you do. At the end of the day, Rachel, if a player is much more of a valuable piece to what they're doing offensively, and the starter comes back, the first thing they do, a la Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe, is they say, I don't know if you're quite healed yet. Why don't you wait?
Yeah.
That's not what happened with Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
They said, regardless to the money,
Yeah.
they said, man, we're a better football team with
With
Dak
Dak.
Prescott than Cooper Rush. So what Acho is talking about right there is senseless. It's senseless. Makes no sense.
So, look, I think that Dak belongs in the conversation, which is one of my favorite expressions in all of sports. Because, I mean, let's be honest. You and I are in the conversation, too, if we want to be. It doesn't mean we're going to win. But, yes, he deserves to be in the conversation. If you're saying these are the top 3 and he's 4, even if that's what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily saying that, that means he's in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Because you're talking about that. The only thing that I liked about what Acho was saying right at the beginning there about it's not the statistical best award for best statistics versus most valuable. And I think this is such an important distinction in sports. And the NFL has a difference for this that the NBA doesn't. And I think it's worth noticing. So the NBA just has MVP.
Yes.
MVP can be whatever you want.
Yes.
Do you think it's the most valuable player to the team? Do you think it's whoever had the best statistical season? There's no best season award in the NBA, which has sort of driven me crazy for years. I think that the NBA needs to adjust and adapt. There's a lot of leagues out there, including the NFL, has best offensive player, best defensive player. Those tend to be for best season. Whereas most valuable is who's the best guy. Who's the guy?
Yes.
Who's the one player you want to start with if you have to win a game this Sunday for the fate of the human race? This is the guy. That's different from who has the best stats. And the NFL allows for that. So then the question is, if we're making that distinction, just on the very first part of what Acho was saying, is Dak the guy that you would want to play on Sunday if you had to play for the fate of the world? You had to field the team versus the aliens.
Right now, based on the way he's playing the positions through 11 weeks of the season, he's probably the quarterback.
Okay.
He's probably the quarterback. And here's why I would say that. If you look at other quarterbacks around the league, we saw the Baltimore Ravens with and without Lamar.
Yeah.
We've also saw the Dallas Cowboys with and without Dak Prescott. At a short period of time, also the long period of time when he broke his ankle, the team looked like just a team with a uniform.
Yeah.
We saw it last year with Cooper Rush. Okay, they won some games.
Yeah.
They won some games.
Okay, but of
for
all
the
the
long
guys,
term,
of all the guys in the league,
yes, absolutely.
feel
Because if
comfortable
I
putting
put
Dak
Dak
there?
Prescott with the San Francisco 49ers, the 49ers
Great.
ain't gonna miss a beat.
well, then there you go.
They, in fact, might be even better
Yes, I
with
agree.
Dak Prescott at the quarterback position.
Totally agree.
So for me and my money at the MVP, if you put Dak Prescott with the New York Jets, they're gonna win the Super Bowl. They're gonna win the Super Bowl
Have
if
you
Dak
seen
Prescott.
the offensive line?
No, I'm just talking about at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
But a quarterback sometimes can make your offensive line better because they're doing certain things with the protection, sliding protections a certain way, getting the ball out quick where they're not allowing the rush to get to him. It's not like Zach Wilson in the New York Jets, he drops back, he's hit. It's not like that.
Look, I will say this, though. Aaron Rodgers, it was like, oh, he's projecting to come back in the middle of December. And then it was like, well, let's see how the team is doing.
Well, of course.
They walked that back pretty
of course.
quick.
They're not very good, but
No,
I'm just
I
saying
get
if
it.
they
I get
had
it. I
a
get it.
quarterback like
Yes.
Dak Prescott,
So-
of course. Now, Dak Prescott, as I've said this entire time, there's about a 4-game gauntlet here. Maybe 5. It depends on what Seattle looks like.
Yeah.
You got Seattle.
Mhm.
You got Philadelphia. You're on the road to Buffalo.
Don't say New York.
You're on the road. You're on the road to Miami.
Yes.
Then you're at home with the Lions. If he could be above 500
Yeah.
in those games and play football the way he's playing,
Yeah.
then he has a strong case at the end of the season to be the MVP. A
Yeah.
strong case. Now,
I
you're not
agree.
going to be able to give the MVP to a guy that didn't win his division. I don't
Yes.
think that's ever happened. I
No,
can't.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen. So he'll have to win the division
Winning's part of
and
it.
hope that the Eagles take a step back. But
Right.
he's certainly in the damn conversation.
I couldn't agree more.
But Acho, just like the rest of these dudes out here, man, that just don't like Dak for whatever reason. I could just tell. I could tell.
I like the distinction he made at the top about like it's not the award for best statistics. Now, in this case, Dak, I think, has those MVP qualities.
Yes.
So he's still in that conversation. But again, the NFL has a distinction. The NHL has a distinction with goal scorer versus who's the MVP, who's got the most points versus who's the MVP. I wish the NBA had that distinction.
All right, moving on. Let's get into some college football talk. Colorado head coach Deion Sanders started the season 3-0 and ranked in the top 25. But the Buffs ended the season on a 6-game skid and are now losing top recruits left and right. Here's what Colin Cowherd had to say about primetime in Boulder.
Deion Sanders loses 3 commitments after taking a shot at the NCAA's recruiting policy. I thought September Deion, Colorado was great. It was new, it was fresh, it was fun. I don't regret for a second leaning into it. I like new stuff. They were the most watched team in college football for 5 weeks. They were a little bit like a TikTok trend, wild for about 24 hours, and then they fade into irrelevance. But that's okay. You're on TikTok too. Colorado football, eventually, all coaches discover this, is Colorado football.
Rachel, do you agree that Colorado is a social media fad that has come and gone?
No, I mean, look, I get what Colin's saying. I actually thought it was very astute, and I liked him saying, I like new stuff. Too many people don't say that. I like new stuff, too. That's great. I think that Deion Sanders was in his first year trying to turn a program completely around with brand new sets of players who had not been playing together. And I think that we inevitably saw the bumps and bruises that come with that. And he's got a little bit of a hitch right now with some guys kind of rescinding on their commitments for next year. But I will say the same thing today that I said when he was 3-0. I believe in Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is a winner. There are guys who play sports, who are in the sports world, who you will say, I will back them every single time. You know what? I'm going to back LeBron James in the playoffs until he shows me he can't do it anymore, and that hasn't happened yet. I'm going to back Deion Sanders on a football field until he shows me he can't do it, and that hasn't happened yet. You've got to give him some time to figure this out. By the way, Sports Illustrated just named him Sportsman of the Year. So clearly they're not daunted by the way this team finished, and I'm not either.
Here's another one. At FS1 and FS1 in one of the shows in Colin Cowherd.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is he talking about?
What do you mean?
Why is he a TikTok fad? What?
He was making a comparison to very popular for a while and not popular again.
He's still popular, Rachel.
I agree.
It's you just said Sports Illustrated, Man of the Year. Very popular. When you look at the course of Deion's season, first 3 games, no one thought they were going to TCU based on a 1-11 season and a team winning or going to a national championship, right? They go in there, battle back and forth, they get out of there.
Yep.
Nebraska should have been a better team based on everything in Deion. Deion takes care of business against them.
Yep.
Colorado State, in-state rival, they battle it out, they fight back, they win that game.
Yep.
Nobody in America who knows college football thought they were going to go to Oregon and win.
No.
Nobody. No one.
Even before the injury. And then
before anything, it was like, no way.
Yeah.
Oregon is sitting at 5 in the polls right now and to play in the Final Four. Nobody, it blew them out. We expected that. Then they go to then USC comes into town. They're in a dogfight.
Yeah.
Dogfight. They were scrapping back and forth. 48-41. We took the show on the road. Like, wow. 86 new players, no offensive line, no Travis Hunter. Wow, they really in this. Then you start looking, and at Stanford, they up 29-0. They should close that out. It doesn't happen. You look at the
growing pains of a new team.
It's growing pains of a new team. So I don't know how it's just a fad, because when you're looking at it, you're saying to yourself, 86 new players, brand new coaching staff, brand new environment, brand new everything.
Mm-hmm.
They won 1 game a year ago.
Yeah.
They won 4 this year. Commitments are going to come and go. I could take a list, as you know, from one side of the country to the other side of the country and go through all the college football top programs. Guys are committing and decommitting and committing.
Guys decommit from Nick Saban.
I committed to 4 universities in college.
Really?
Before I finally decided I'm going to USC.
Really?
Absolutely. Every time I look up, Rachel, I was committed. I go on a visit. Yeah, I'm going to come here. Yeah, I'm going. We go out and have a good time. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Washington.
So if we make arrangements to go to lunch, I need to double check the day
before.
No,
lunch is different, though. That's a different situation. But it happens all the time. So over the last couple weeks, people have reported, which is correct reports, that Deion has lost commits.
They've all lost
guys
commits.
Decommit because they want to open things up. It's the rumor mill. Is he going to Texas A&M? What about Michigan State? They may try to get it. It's all of that.
They're also 17-year-old kids.
And they're 17-year-old kids.
Who changed their minds.
And they are 17-year-old kids who mommy and daddy don't want to see them go away. If they go away, they're going to cry. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got all that going on.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, when the dust settles, is he going to be able to recruit the type of kids in the program from Florida, from Texas, from California, that will have him competing in the Big 12 Conference at a high level and into the college football playoff as they expanded? Yes, he will be able to.
Yes. And
Yes.
I do, look, I understand Colin's point about, hey, it's Colorado and every Colorado coach has come up against this. Colin went on to say, look, they don't recruit in-state because the in-state players are not as good as Florida and California and stuff like that. It's just, he was saying there's a lot of natural barriers to coaching at Colorado, and all that's true. But I will tell you that Deion Sanders coaching at Colorado is a different story than every other previous Colorado coach.
Except McCarthy. Except McCarthy.
But no, I just mean, but do you know who can't? I actually would say differently, because the recruiting. In the recruiting process, Deion Sanders can walk into those California and Florida homes and make a different impact than any single predecessor there.
Yeah.
So I believe in Deion
He doesn't
Sanders.
even actually walk into the homes.
He just, his aura walks into
He doesn't.
the homes.
He doesn't go home visits.
Yeah. Someone else does that
he
for
just
him?
picks up his FaceTime, and once they on campus, it's a wrap.
That's all.
But
he's Deion Sanders.
Exactly. I was going to say, it's hard to say no to certain
Does
people.
he bring out the rings? How does that work?
No, he doesn't need to.
I would.
No. All you got to do is say, Google me.
I wear that all the time.
Google me. That's it.
My hands are heavy.
We've had a couple recent instances across the NBA and NFL of player altercations with fans. Clippers' Russell Westbrook was seen getting into it with a courtside heckler, and Bills defensive lineman Shaq Lawson had a recent altercation with an Eagles fan on the field. Keyshawn, we know you came down hard on Shaq Lawson on Undisputed. Is there ever a time when it's justified for a player to clap back at a fan? Where do you cross the line?
It's always justifiable to clap back if that's what you choose to do. I don't, if you feel like having a conversation with a fan, I've had multiple conversations with fans in the stands. Right. That you draw the line as a fan for me, as a black man living in America.
Yeah.
If you call me the N-word, I swear to you, I'm going to try to get to you and do something to you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And if you throw something at me or you put your damn hands on me, you are now putting yourself in a bad position. Because I am going to come after you. Now, calling me a bust or bum or overrated or you're this or your family sucks. And I don't care. Whatever, man. You can talk all you want, okay? But those two things are going to cause problems. And one of the things that you have with fans is and this is an ongoing thing in all sports, is they pay a certain amount of money to watch you play.
They don't pay
and they think that they pay a certain amount of money to be disrespectful. And that's the problem. Watch the damn game, cheer your team on. If you want to be a heckler, that's cool. You could pop all day long. Don't be disrespectful. When you start being disrespectful, it becomes a problem. And the reason I got on Shaq Lawson is you don't need to touch the dude. If he didn't throw anything at you and he didn't call you a derogatory.
Do we know what the fan said?
He just said that the fan had threatened, I don't even know if he used the word threatened, but was talking about the players' families.
Got it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't even know if the family was even in the stands.
I know that does, but that is something. It depends on the player. Some players are let that roll off
Yeah,
the back. Some players say that's the line you can't cross, and I respect that. To your point, look, it does not earn you the right to say anything you want just because you have bought a ticket for that space. This extreme internetism of, hey, I can say anything I want online about anyone, right? They can't come at me, and the sort of talk radio has just changed people's mindsets on what they think they can say.
Yeah.
And it's here I'll quote our number one NFL fan, Taylor Swift. She has a line in her song that says, "Say it in the street, that's a knockout. Say it in a tweet, it's a cop out."
Yeah.
And that is 100% how I feel about some of these fans. And that transfers in an actual game because they scream this stuff at the field or at the court, and they think, oh, there's the barrier and the security, and it's like the internet. No one can get to me. Well, guess what? Someone can if they want to.
Yeah.
I just think that also we got to give these players a little more room. What Russell Westbrook did the other night was nothing. He looked at the guy. He said a few things to him back after the guy was talking to him.
I don't have a problem with that.
He didn't take a step forward. He didn't go at the guy. He was respectful to the referee who was in front of him, trying to diffuse the situation.
Even teammates and other teammates and the opponents was trying to pull Russ off of it.
And also not in a way of like, what's he doing? Russell has a history with some fans. He's done some inappropriate things, grabbed a phone, that kind of thing. But I have to point out to your thing, what you started off saying, Russell Westbrook, a lot of those fan incidents happen in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City is a fantastic, or Utah. They are both strong franchises. I want to praise the front offices of those franchises for making it very clear to fans that they can't talk like that behavior is not welcome. That doesn't mean that it hasn't happened in those cities, and it has. And Russell Westbrook in specific has been a target of some of that racist commentary. And so if he is a little more quick trigger because of that experience, that's okay.
Yeah.
And we don't get to judge him on the fact that those past experiences happened, because those past experiences were so out of bounds by the fan.
Yeah.
You can't
It
hold
was
that
warranted.
against him.
Certain things are warranted. It's interesting we even having this conversation because 2 weeks ago, and I don't know why my wife has her social media thingy open for people to just communicate with her or whatever. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, but she's
a woman of the people.
She likes to do it and look at it and,
Okay, yeah.
and want people to look at the pictures and all the different stuff, but that's what they do.
Well, she's very cute.
And so somebody was watching the show.
Yeah.
And they didn't like my take on what I don't even remember what it was. It could have been a million different things, but they DM'd my wife in her social media and went off, called me the N-word, and I dare you and your husband and all, it was like in the basement, living with his parents type dude that
Taylor Swift would have some words for that guy.
So what I did is I had my people post it.
Good.
And just say, this is the world we're living in, look at blah, blah, blah. Because I want that particular person, if it was real, not real, whatever, to be outed.
Yes.
And for them to see, this is the type of behavior that you have based on a sport.
Yep.
It was just crazy. He called me the N-word. I was just like, okay, if you was walking next to me down the street, would you ever in your life even think about saying such a thing? No. But it happens in sports. And so, I'm just glad that we haven't had another Malice in the Palace type situation. And the reason that happened is because you threw something at somebody.
Yes.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
No, I agree. I thought everything that happened this past week, I get it.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to my comment about Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green. No one died.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend that, look, player goes into the stands, Malice at the Palace, and starts swinging. That's another story.
Yeah.
But no one
Don't
died
throw
in this
anything on me, though,
situation.
and I won't have to go in the stand. Don't throw anything, Rachel.
Russell Westbrook looked at someone. Let's not crucify him for that.
I understand, but don't throw anything, and we won't have to go in the stands. Don't put your hands on me, and I won't have to throw you through a window like Charles Barkley.
Keyshawn, I've known you for 2 decades. I have never thrown anything at you. So I'm just saying it's possible. It's very possible.
Well,
Don't throw anything at the people.
Let's stick with Westbrook's fan encounters. Rachel, what's your firsthand perspective of Russ? Is he misunderstood or out of bounds?
Well, look, I think that some of his past experiences, the fact that he's getting tagged for, he did this in Utah, or he did this in Oklahoma City. I'm not saying his behavior in every instance was perfect.
Yeah.
It was not. But you have to remember that there were some things provoking him that, as you said, we would all consider so way out of bounds that you can't judge him on that reaction. And I think overall with Russ, his teammates love him. He is loved in the locker rooms that he is in. He is not good with the media, and because of that, he gets a bad reputation. And it is something that we have seen over and over again. The guys who know how to, make friends, who are candid, who know how to be funny, who treat media people like they are actually real human beings, they will get more of a break in the public eye than the guys who are assholes. Like, that's just true. I mean, that is human nature. And it's not because reporters need people to suck up to them or they're so biased. If someone's a jerk to you over and over and over again, you will not give them as much benefit of the doubt. And I think that has added to Russ's public reputation, because the people shaping that public reputation, they don't have as much time for him.
Yeah, if I had a scale of a 1 to a 10, I probably was a jerk to warranted, I would say, to media about 3 to 4, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably say that. But those were warranted.
I thought you were lovely to deal with.
Yeah, to you, because you or some other people never deliberately went at me to try and not necessarily prove a point, to raise their profile, so to speak. And I've always said, even to this day, when I speak to media classes of young journalists trying to get into the business, and they ask me oftentimes, what is it to dislike about the media?
Yeah.
I would say, I don't have a problem with you writing the story the way it should be, not the way you want it to be.
Also, don't.
But if I drop a ball,
Yes,
right,
that
I
was my
drop a
point.
ball and it hit my hands. Don't tell me I dropped the ball when I jumped 9 feet in the air and it hit my hands when it was over my head and I made an attempt to get the football because you have a personal issue with me. That's the problem.
I agree. And by the way, someone trying to make their name on your back and on the back of your mistakes, that is something players can sniff out.
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
absolutely a reason to have that terse relationship. But I'm talking about more about the overall. The example I always give is Big Papi, right?
Yeah.
Big Papi had a great relationship with baseball reporters overall, with reporters in Boston. He made the point of trying to talk to them even when there were difficult moments. He would diffuse situations with humor. He's a very funny guy. All of that stuff. When the steroid issue came up with him and he tested positive for steroids, he showed up that day. He came out and talked to the media that day. He wasn't hiding. And his attitude, if you go back and look at the press availability, was like, hey, you guys know. I mean, he was just very much sort of collegial, even in this incredibly tense moment. And if you go and look at the coverage the next day, it was completely different than, say, Roger Clemens, who had been in that same exact situation.
Yeah.
And the difference with Russell Westbrook is, the difference with Russell Westbrook is that he has not created that room for himself.
Understood.
And that's fine. By the way, I don't think he loses any sleep at night over it.
No, he does not.
But,
trust me.
and again, he's an incredible family guy. You see him around his kids, he's a good man.
Yeah.
And the people who play with him and work with him really respect
Some
him.
people just aren't comfortable in certain situations and good with the media. That's just, you don't have to trust everybody.
No.
And open up to everybody and get them all in your business because some guys, again, they want to do things to lift their own self.
Yeah.
All right, Rachel, we want to end with something fun and put you on the spot to create your all-time dream NBA duos. I'll name 3 legends, and you pair it with a current NBA player.
Okay.
First up, Magic Johnson.
All right. So I thought about this, and I think Joel Embiid and Magic Johnson would be really fun. If you look at not just them on the court and the on-the-court fit, but really about the ethos. The thing about Magic, that smile, right? The sort of energy that he brought. Showtime Lakers don't happen without Magic Johnson. And Embiid has such a showman's ability. He's so much fun. He loves the game, the joy of the game those two guys have, complemented by, of course, the big man sort of, perimeter player, that relationship they could have on the court. I like that relationship.
No, that's a good one because Embiid actually can play in, I don't want to say eras, but is there? Yeah. He can play in both. He can play
100%.
with Magic played, and he can obviously play now because it was more center dominant back then. Yeah. And he can certainly put his
he could dominate
back
without
to
the
the
three.
basket.
He didn't
Yeah,
need to
exactly.
do all that stuff. Yeah, 100%. I don't know. Do you think who would you put with Magic?
In today's NBA?
Yeah.
Man, I could put
anyone.
Embiid, Giannis, Joker.
But how much fun would Magic and Embiid be?
Well, I'm thinking about Embiid will run the floor just like Giannis.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at those two. Joker, running the floor. He got gravy boots.
Also, Magic and Joker with and Joker with passing, and Jokic. You don't need both of those.
No,
guys
you
on
don't
the
need
floor.
them both to do that.
But
But those would probably be the two bigs. Am I missing anybody?
How fun would that locker room be? How fun would those press conferences be? How fun would the championship parade be if Embiid and Magic were on the same team? That'd be great.
Up next, we got the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Who you pairing with that?
Now, him I would pair with Jokic, right? Because of the passing again. I would love to see Nikola Jokic get Michael Jordan the ball in literally every spot on the court. Because Michael Jordan is the guy who could pay off every single spot on the court in a way that would be just so much fun to see Nikola play with him.
See, I don't like that pair.
Why?
Because he's never played with a big that made the Joker type stuff. Yeah. Didn't do that. I mean, Luke Longley's and Bill Cartwright
That's
types.
the position that he needs to upgrade.
Yeah, but then it's going to take something away from, it feels like it would take something away from what I know about MJ and where MJ was on the basketball court. It just feels that way because it was all about him.
Yes.
This is all about the Joker.
Well, but if you're pairing him with a teammate of today, you're not pairing him with a bench player.
No,
you're pairing him with a great player. So by definition, it would be another great player. But he played with Scottie Pippen. He did fine. He was still Michael Jordan. If you added an elite center in a way that he didn't have before, and I mean, he certainly didn't have
But the triangle didn't ask for the elite center. The first elite center was Shaq.
But yes, and that worked.
Yeah, it did, I guess.
Yeah, I think they have
no,
some rings.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I
guess it did. I guess that just don't seem right.
So
that's
Keyshawn,
all.
who you got? Who you picking with MJ?
I would probably take Giannis
Ooh, Giannis.
Yeah, I probably would put Giannis with him
All right. Last up, we got
because
the
of the
great
defensive
go ahead.
side.
Yeah, that's
Where
true.
Joker ain't even really playing no defense. He's just
better
standing around.
defense, but yeah,
He's
I'm
standing
with
around.
You got Dennis Rodman on that team. You're good.
Last up, we got the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who we pairing with that guy?
I would love to see him with Steph. So I was thinking about Kawhi. Kawhi first was kind of just temperament-wise. I figured those two could really, put their heads down and go to work together. But the injuries scare me, and I like the idea of Steph and someone who has that kind of range on the outside, paired with Kareem, who is the most dominant interior player we've ever seen. And little sky hook with the three-pointer from Steph, the shake and bake. I mean,
No, James Harden.
why?
He's gonna facilitate. He's going. It's like a smaller Magic
Right.
in this situation with the ability to score at a
talking-
different level.
Are you talking about James Harden today? Or are
Well,
you
I
talking
mean,
about James
even
Harden in
James
his
Harden,
prime?
even James Harden that we saw last night.
James Harden
Even James
scored
Harden
all
we
his
saw last
points in
night.
not all of them. He scored 17 of his points last night
No,
in
I
the
get
first
it.
quarter.
I get
he
it.
is not the
And-
player he used
But
to be.
Kawhi took over when they needed him too late in the game. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, when I look at that, facilitating, setting up the offense, able to shoot the three.
It's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I like that one. Steph just seems like, I mean, I guess I would have to see Steph facilitate more, even though he does.
Yeah.
But more, like Kareem with Magic.
There's still three other guys on this potential court we're talking about. So he wouldn't necessarily have to be doing everything Kareem
It's
wasn't
2-on-2
doing.
basketball.
Here's what I like. I like the idea that you would have someone who could do a sky hook with someone who could be a logo shot player. And the idea that you could get that range on a basketball court, to me, would be really fun to see.
Yeah, probably.
Fun. I'm there.
That's a wrap for today, and I'll be back next week. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us. You already know what time it is. More content. Until then, I'm Keyshawn Johnson. Stay with us in Undisputed. Deuces.